G'day guys, Luke here. Welcome back to another video. In today's video guys, we are here at Taronga Zoo here in Sydney, checking out their new reptile house. Now this is a 3-story building. Now the bottom floor is closed off to the public as it's a private conservation area for all their research. However, we can still check out the 2nd and 3rd floor, and that's the talk about today is the general thoughts on the new facility. As we walked through the doors, we were greeted with a beautiful Asian themed scenery. What I like about this new facility is that as you go through section to section, they'll have a beautiful little scenery broken up by the enclosures. So you see on screen in a moment how they have this one whole wall here decked out in the Asian area, and then they're broken it up with the enclosures for each animal to be displayed safely, but also meeting the animal's needs and requirements to have these animals happy and healthy. But I found it pretty cool how they've broken it up each section into the theme and ran with a scene with these enclosures. The next part of the video guys we're going through is mostly in darkness or very dim lighting. Now at the time I'm not too sure why they were doing this or why the lights were out. My guess is that the animals were still settling in, so they had to keep everything in this section still dark. Other than that, they probably had an electrical problem that's still requiring to get fixed. However, as we talk about this scenery, I found something quite interesting throughout the facility is that they had different species of animals housed together. So just then, when we had the Boyd's forest dragons, the green tree python and the green tree frog, I believe all 3 were in the same enclosure. Not sure how that was working, but I was actually quite impressed how they can co-inhabitate these animals that are found in the same range in their natural environment and able to do it in captivity. Another couple of examples were the rattlesnake in with the corn snakes, and there's a few other strange species of reptiles that I've noticed that were housed together, which I never thought would work. But hey, if it works, it works. If it doesn't, then we'll kind of find out later on that if it didn't work, then we know why. As you guys will be viewing the animals and the enclosures on screen, I'm just going to talk a bit about the facility, as it will help us with the time frame. Now the only thing I'll be a bit nitpicky about was there was very limited hiding places for some of these animals that were on display. I know you guys, when you go to the zoo, you're paying to see the animals, but for me, as I guess a keeper, I like to see some places for these animals to hide in. Some of these enclosures were quite open and bare. I just felt bad for the animal if they were constantly left on display. They would be stressed. However, I guess the keepers there will know when to take these animals off display, as well kind of adjust the enclosures over time as needed. That's the only thing I was kind of nitpicky about is some of these animals had a lot of hiding places while some didn't. But I guess the animals seemed alright from just observing them. They're just sitting there vibing. Now, what I like about this facility is that they kind of mix and match as you walk through the exhibit. So you went through Australia, New Zealand, Asia, America. You go from Australian bushland into the desert. And overall, they had a few interesting critters on display. Now, from the old reptile house that they had on display previously, there were a few animals that were familiar to me, as I thought, you guys were there at the old facility on display. However, these guys had some new species on display, and I thought it was pretty cool to see them having a couple of different species that they didn't have before on display. And it's got me very intrigued on what do these guys at Taronga Zoo have behind the scenes, just growing up or planning on putting it on display on a later date. So I'm very intrigued on how this facility will evolve over time, and what are the plans for Taronga Zoo. We're going into the new reptile house, as well what they're going to do with the old facility. Are they going to tear it down and build something new there, or are they going to refurbish it and kind of put something else different there? But over time we'll find out what happened as time goes on, I guess, with all these lovely animals and the facilities that are always upgrading. The only burning question that I have regarding to, I guess, seeing the whole new facility is that has Taronga Zoo here in Sydney up the standards on how to have your reptiles on display? Well, not just in reptiles, but I guess the animals as well. Every time I go to Taronga Zoo here, there's always something being constructed. There's always something new there to check out. And I guess as well, having Sydney Zoo only about an hour and a half, 2 hours away in Western Sydney, these 2 facilities have showcased some beautiful enclosures for their reptiles, and their reptiles look quite happy and overall look more realistic in their enclosure, or make them a bit more out in the wild with these animals. Now, don't get me wrong, I do love to see the old school way of, the reptile park and a couple other places here in Sydney that still have the old school feel of how they house their reptiles. However, I feel like Toronto Zoo as well as Sydney Zoo have upped the standards on not just in Australia but around the world on a reptile housing and facility. Not just as well in reptiles, but also all the other animals they have on display. And that's my question for you guys. Do you think they've kind of set the standards higher, not just in the zoo and wildlife facilities around the world, but also in private reptile keeping? Should we try to, I guess, replicate what zoos do and the way for our animals if the space and budget that we have as private collectors can make? When you do see a empty enclosure, guys, it always gets you thinking, what do they have in mind in putting these enclosures? Anyway, I thought I'd just throw that thought up there. Now, for the third floor of the building, it has to be really excited. Obviously, it's brand new and the vegetation needs time to grow. The red-bellied black snake pit I still love. Now, I still kind of have a biased opinion, as I do find the old red-bellied black snake pit that they had there was a much better enclosure. However, I have to give this enclosure some time to grow and develop. They also have a lace-wanted pit, very similar laid out to the red-bellied black snakes. And I found this very interesting how they also got another pit that I didn't film because there was nothing out and about. But they've also a tiger snake pit there. So I'm very curious how these tiger snakes will interact with the new exhibit. They also had a death adder, broad-headed snake, and a species of turtle that I'm not very familiar with on display. So I found that pretty cool as a top section of the building. Anyway guys, I'll wrap up the video here. I hope you enjoyed today's video and me talking about a bit about this facility. I do encourage you guys, go and check it out if you're ever in Sydney and check out the zoo. It's a great facility, I do recommend it. And overall, I'm excited for the future with this facility too. Anyway guys, I'll stop yapping. So thank you all for watching and I'll catch you all in the next video.